You got 5 minutes before they enter the room. And it's not going to be an easy conversation. It's important that they understand what you have to say. And it's vital that they take the necessary action. How do you make it land? All right. This is a type of scenario that plays out multiple times across every workplace in Australia and beyond, right? Because leadership is all about influencing people to do what is needed in order to achieve some sort of goal. And the leader's primary mechanisms of influence is conversation. So we as leaders need to get really good at making sure our conversations land. Now, the challenge for us, right, is often our workloads are so big, our calendars are so full that we're going from conversation to conversation, from meeting to meeting, often back to back. And far too often we walk into an important conversation unprepared, where we haven't thought through what the outcome that we want is. We don't have a plan on how to get that outcome. So I want to give you a bit of a tool that you might be able to use in a situation like that. See, if your conversations are going to land, if they're going to be influential or motivate people to action, then you need to be intentional about it and you need to be prepared. Given your workload, you can't spend 45 minutes, preparing your arguments and crafting your message and polishing the delivery to try and get it perfect. You need a tool that's quick and easy. And here's one that I find really useful. A lot of my clients find it really beneficial as well. So when you're preparing to have an important conversation, I want you to consider the outcome by asking three simple questions. So, three-step tool. The first one is, what do you want them to know? The information that you need to deliver, it's about the message that you want to convey. Are you clear about that? The next one is, what do you want them to do? This is all about getting clear around the action you want people to take. And the final step, the third question, is how do you want them to feel? Are you clear on the emotional state you want them in when they leave the conversation? See, once you've considered these three questions, then it's like you have all the pieces of the puzzle, and you can sit there and consider how do you put the pieces together? How do you have the conversation in a way that makes sure that they know what you want them to, that they've got the message, that they're inspired to take action, and they feel the way that you want them to? See, most leaders, they will consider what they want people to know and what they want people to do, but rarely do they consider, how do I want our people to feel? And it's a bit like trying to complete the puzzle without all the pieces. Yet it's this last point, it's this how people feel piece that is often determinative of the outcome and the result of the conversation, whether or not it lands at all. See, it's how people feel about your message and about your plan that will determine how they think about it and how they approach it, whether or not they take action at all. Because it's how people feel that determines their perspective and their motivation. So you can deliver the same message in very different ways and make people feel drastically different as a result. I want you to consider the following scenario. You've got a staff member who's underperforming. You need them to know that they aren't meeting expectations, and if you don't see a significant change, well, you may need to let them go. You need them to change their behavior to start meeting the minimum performance standards. So how do you have the conversation? Well, here's two different approaches. Approach A, you can be really direct, you can be clear, and you can be kind of emotionally detached. You might focus on clarifying the standard, highlighting where the individual is not meeting expectations and what they need to do in order to shift their performance. All right. You might focus or highlight the need for performance management and explicitly state that their job is at risk. And you might communicate that your role as a leader is to ensure that the team is performing and to make the tough choices for the good of the business. Now, if a leader took that approach with you, how would you feel? I want you to consider a second approach, right? Approach B. You're still really clear about what the standards are that need to be reached, but you frame their performance as not yet meeting expectations. And you communicate that your role as a leader is to help them get there by highlighting the different supports and resources that are available, encouraging them to choose which ones that they will use to grow and improve. Given that you are trying to create an environment that brings the best out of people, if genuine attempts are made but still expectations aren't met, then maybe it's a person environment fit that isn't quite right. And maybe you can help them find an environment to which they are better suited. Now, if someone took that approach with you, how different would you feel? See, approach A is likely to make someone feel pressured to perform. There's almost a fear there of losing their job, and likely that's going to be a strong motivator for change. Now, while I'm generally not a fan of fear based motivation, it should never be your go to as a leader. It is really powerful and it does have its place. Leaders who are adamant that they will always avoid using this approach are likely to be profoundly ineffective in certain types of scenarios. Approach B, however, it's more likely to make people feel supported and encouraged and empowered. The motivation is to grow, to improve, to be better. It's for themselves, for their team, and importantly, for the leader who is supporting them. They walk away kind of feeling positive about the conversation and what they need to do moving forward. And such positive affect, which is kind of what the science and the research terms feelings, the positive affect that results from managers' behavior has been shown not only to improve performance, but also increase trust, engagement, loyalty, while also reducing turnover, intentions, stress, and incivility. Now, in both cases, it was the same message, but very different delivery. And the different feeling that each approach evokes in people will initiate different motivational mechanisms inside them. It's important to understand that neither approach is wrong. Both can be effective, but the art of leadership is about consciously choosing which approach to use when. I guess I thought I'd leave you with the much loved and often quoted truth from Maya Angelou, and that is that people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I thought that quote's not only fitting, it's a truth that as leaders, we should never forget. So I encourage you, what's one conversation that you need to have today or at some point this week? And use the know, do, feel tool to prepare. Until next time, lead well.